I wonder what it would be like if people could hear my thoughts while I watch videos. I can't believe it's already October 2nd. I was supposed to go to the grocery store on September 29th, but I need some food. I honestly don't think they're going to fit barrel sections out those tiny doors. They should really have vestibules, but I guess it doesn't matter when you have like 18 quadrillion tons of air conditioning. Ship 34's Nosecone is looking good. I still can't get over those rear-angled flaps. Untiled. I almost said untitled nose cones. I guess either way it could work. But I'm not seeing any tiles on these. I wonder how that's going to work out for them. That one looks like it's got polish or something running down the side. Why would it have discoloration like that? Huh. Oh, that's weird. New parts are delivered. We keep talking about, can these be for the OLM? I'm not sure. I don't know if I should do the entire video in the stream of consciousness inside DOS's heads format, but there's Pad B's chopstick carriage. Because just every statement would start like, I wonder if... That might get a little tiring in the end. You can see they're continuing to work over that way. Don't forget, if you just want the ambient sounds, you can swap audio tracks over to the other available track. That cladding on the side of the parking garage, it's got to be for decoration. I bet you there's like a logo or a design or something like that goes on it, because it's a little asymmetrical, right? But that's the front of the parking garage, which does not have... That's actually the south-facing side of the parking garage, roughly, which would get the most sun. So if those were for, like, solar temperature management or something like that, you'd think they'd have it on the south side for sure. More scaffolding work here. I've driven one of those lifts. I've driven a little one of those lifts, like a 30-foot one of those lifts. It's actually really cool the way they work, like a joystick. Like this just says platform moved. It's supposed to be a little sideways right now. It's an interesting calculation for the center of mass of that thing, but I guess the decking was sort of the center of mass. Also, a lot of those fork telehandlers, right, that have the forks on the front also have a crane attachment point. There's a ship quick disconnecting. Say that 10 times fast. Is that like ATM machine? And then the QD taped up to prevent FOD ingress. You can see they go up there and they actually cover those holes. They're pretty high up there. There's going to be less blowing sand and salt and stuff like that, but still good to keep it under control to close off those ports. Down at ground level, there's tons of blowing sand and salt. Well, I guess they were, no spoilers, getting it a little bit closer to ground level, so maybe that makes sense. This is an ominous sign approaching the launch pad. One of those load spreaders to remove a piece. I'm sure we'll see that in a bit here. The QD arm swinging away. Had to reframe the camera just a little bit there. It's always like a guess. You're always looking at it like, when that swings, is it going to stay in frame, or am I going to have to reframe it a little bit? Because you want to do a time lapse and leave open area on the side, so when things move, especially at the port, like when ships are moving around the port, it's always a bummer when you're like, God, it was so close, the edge just barely went out of frame, and then you reframe it and you see a little jump cut like that. Love the time lapse of the clouds evaporating. You can tell this goes to another camera because the white balance changes a little bit. Some of our cameras don't have great control over the white balance. And so you get to see, this is a real camera. This is Mary's camera with properly fantastic white balance. And that other remote can leave it outside tracking camera. See, here's Jack's camera, which has slightly different white balance. Now that I've pointed it out, you'll never unsee it. Anyways, it's a thing that I look at when I see these videos. I'm like, There's back to Mary with bluer skies. Those big RVACs. swinging over to the side. It's still so interesting the way that the skirt right there you go, the skirt, keeps those engines sort of enclosed because they can't stick out past the bottom like you'd see in traditional rockets you may see, where the second stage comes off and then the engine's like hanging out the back, because the inner stage, like on the Falcon 9, stays attached to the Falcon 9 booster, and then the Merlin vacuum on the second stage is sort of sticking out the back, less mass to carry to orbit, so the second stage can be more efficient. If there's anything Starship is not, it's efficient. Starship is not designed to particularly be efficient, unless you look at the Raptor engines and the amount of power they get out of the Raptor engines, right? But Starship is very much a brute force to orbit, brute force to wherever you want to go. Like, normally you wouldn't want to carry some of this mass, but because they're trying to make it reusable, they don't want pieces that go away, like that you ditch, that you disconnect. That's why we're expecting that we'll see the hot stage ring change in the future. You want rapidly refusible, you don't need disposable pieces, and you don't want parts that you have to sort of reassemble your rocket. You just want to put the two pieces of the rocket back together. I love the clouds dissipating, informing the way you see dissipating here. I mean, I assume you could make a Starship where the engine's hung out, but then when it's trying to re-enter, the engines aren't protected as well, right? When you're doing the belly flop, you sort of have to carry that extra side heat shielding structure to mount the TPS to. So when you're blazing through the upper atmosphere, the engine bay area and the engines themselves are protected from the sideways heating that they would get otherwise. Got to scoot Ship 30 around. There you go. Get it out of the way for the crane operations. It's doing a little bit of a pirouette. Love how they can spin around. There's the hot staging ring. We saw that running up the highway. And of course, this is so they don't bend their hot staging ring in half by putting pinching forces on it, or lateral forces, as those cables from the center connection of the crane try to come together when they put weight on them. There's a star in the background. Look, just up at the top where the cable connects. I saw that live on SBL. I'm like, is that a star in the background, or is that a dead pixel? That camera we probably should have locked the focus on. You don't always remember to, but sometimes in these like half lighting conditions, you got to lock the focus, or it hunts focus a little bit. Y'all are going to get on my case because I'm pointing out problems with the cameras. Now you're going to be like, I never noticed that before. Now I see it all the time. I apologize, but you know, I see it all the time, so now we can share. So we got the hot staging ring off the top. Indication that they're likely going to do some work up around the top usually. There's Ship 30. The tiles really do look quite nice. But look, do you see all the blowing? See the blowing sand? I guess that's probably blowing dust in that specific case, but you get down lower to the ground. Of course, the camera there is at ground level, and something was happening off to the left of the camera that was kicking up a bunch of dust, but that's why they tape over the QD arms. That's also why we have to clean our camera lenses like every couple days. Doing some more work on the drop-down Chopstick Stabilizers. He's grinding. That looks like a grinder. You could tell because of the 90-degree head. Somebody with overalls on. Are they coating or painting things? Why do we have on full overalls? I guess we didn't see. So this is the booster test stand. And there you can see they're loading some counterweights onto it. Close-ups of more OLM parts. Again, the angles continue to work together to see how this is going to bolt up. Is it going to move? Is it not going to move? Well, I mean, it's on a truck. It should move now. See the wheels rolling. But is the OLM itself going to somehow move? I think that's a very interesting discussion that's been going on. We did a poll on it the other day. wonder if there's some structural reason that the insides are rounded that way. Like, does that, it increases the structural integrity on that axis by, I don't know, some amount. 14.8%, or it just makes it look like a ship. I guess that's how they build ships. Like, if you see passageways through ships and you have hatches that close off. I wonder if there's, what is this, a TARDIS? It's like a double-wide, it's a double-wide TARDIS being pulled in by a crane. Do you see how that doesn't have a load spreader? Those straps go all the way around. Rewind it and look at that. You can see how the single point is going to sort of try to crush the top of that payload, the load that it's trying to move. And it must have not mattered there for that load. They didn't need a spreader, but that's why they have like the hot stage removal ring and the load spreaders and stuff. All right, so is this one SPMT or is this two SPMTs? You drive them. I read all the comments about, it's a power pack. I generally agree that you count the power packs because that's the maximum number of independent SPM2 units you can operate. But in this case, we have two units that are tethered together. Oh, no, we didn't get to see the back. But there's going to be a power pack on each of them. And does that count as two acting as one, or is that one SPMT with two power packs? I'll leave it to y'all in the comments. I'm John Galloway. Thanks again to Mary and Jack and all the SBL ops for capturing all the footage. Thanks y'all for watching, and we'll see you later.